This coin almost ended up forgotten in someone's change jar, but when it resurfaced, it shocked the coin world with a price tag climbing as high as $3.3 million. Imagine this. A simple penny, struck in 1995, without even the smallest mint mark, becoming the center of an electrifying discovery. To most people, it was just another coin. A single cent. But to those who knew its secret, it was a once-in-a-lifetime treasure hiding in plain sight. Collectors whisper about it. Dealers hunt for it. And every so often, a lucky individual pulls one out of circulation, not realizing they're holding the key to a fortune. But why is this penny, a coin so ordinary in appearance, worth more than a mansion, more than luxury cars, more than some people earn in a lifetime? The truth is almost stranger than fiction. It all begins in 1995, a year like any other. Millions upon millions of Lincoln Memorial pennies rolled off the presses. Most were perfect. Most were common. But a few, a very few, were born with a tiny difference, an invisible error that only the sharpest eyes could catch. And that difference changed everything. Because one coin, struck without a mint mark, slipped past the mint's strict controls. It shouldn't exist. It was never meant to leave the factory floor. Yet somehow, it did. And decades later, that tiny oversight turned into a discovery worth millions. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One of these rare no-mint marked 1995 pennies found its way into the hands of a collector who almost dismissed it. At first glance, it looked no different than the billions of other copper-plated zinc cents from the era. But then, under the right light, with the right magnification, the truth was revealed. And when that coin crossed the auction block, the bidding war was nothing short of explosive. A staggering $3.3 million. A single cent transformed into a life-changing miracle. But here's the twist. Most people don't even know what to look for. They spend these coins every single day, never realizing they're passing up a chance at a fortune. That's why this story matters, because that coin could be in your pocket right now. Collectors were shocked. Some refused to believe it. How could a 1-cent piece become one of the most valuable coins in America? But as experts examined the coin, one detail made the answer clear. The missing mint mark, a tiny absence that signaled something extraordinary. Dealers rushed to get their hands on it. Coin shows buzzed with rumors. And suddenly, the 1995 no-mint mark penny was no longer just a coin. It was a legend. But here's where it gets even more incredible. Every time a story like this breaks, ordinary people start checking their change. And sometimes, lightning strikes twice. A janitor, a cashier, a retiree cleaning out an old jar of coins, all have stumbled upon coins that went on to sell for small fortunes. Each discovery proves the same truth. You never really know what's hiding in plain sight. And this coin, this 1995 penny, is the perfect example. Imagine being the person who almost tossed it away, only to learn it was worth millions. Imagine the heartbeat racing, the disbelief, the rush of realizing a lifetime of financial worries could vanish with the sale of a coin most people overlook. That's why stories like this capture so much attention. Because deep down, everyone wonders, could it happen to me? This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Look closely at the date. Look just beneath Lincoln's portrait. On most coins, you'll see a small letter, D for Denver, P for Philadelphia, S for San Francisco. But on this one, the mint mark is missing entirely. No D, no S, no P, just emptiness. That absence is the golden ticket, but there's more. Because not every coin missing a mint mark is valuable. Some are damaged, altered, or worn down. And that's the trap. Many people throw away potential treasures because they don't know how to tell the difference. The secret is in the strike. The edges are sharp, the details crisp, and the surface reveals no signs of tampering. If the missing mint mark looks natural, not scratched off or worn away, you could be staring at a multi-million-dollar treasure. But what happened after that record-shattering auction shocked even the experts. Collectors began trading stories, each hoping they had the next jackpot penny. Dealers reported seeing more and more people bringing in 1995 pennies, their hands trembling with excitement, their voices shaking with hope. Most were ordinary, but a rare few carried that silent secret. And each one that did became a lightning bolt in the world of numismatics. 1 cent, multiplied into $3.3 million. That's not just profit, that's history rewriting itself. And here's the truth no one wants to admit. These coins are still out there, hiding in bank rolls, sitting in forgotten coffee cans, lurking in dresser drawers, waiting for someone with the courage and the curiosity to look closer. It's the 1995 Lincoln Memorial penny with no mint mark. Flip it under a light. Inspect the date carefully. Check the area just below the date and beside Lincoln's portrait. If there's no mint mark, no D, no S, no P, and the strike looks clean and original, you may be holding a fortune. Don't dismiss it. Don't spend it. And above all, don't overlook it, because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in a coffee jar, forgotten among spare change, but it sold for more than $3 million. Yes, you heard that right. A simple 1988 penny, without a mint mark, transformed an ordinary collector's life forever. And tonight, you're going to hear the full story. A story that might make you rush to check your own coins before the night is over. At first glance, it looks like nothing. Just another copper-colored cent, dull from years of circulation. Most people wouldn't even bend down to pick it up off the sidewalk. But that's the dangerous mistake, because this coin hides a secret so rare, so shocking, that the moment it was uncovered, the coin world was shaken to its core. Back in 1988, billions of pennies were struck. It was routine, mechanical, forgettable. But in the chaos of the U.S. Mint, accidents happen. A mismatched die here, an overlooked error there, and suddenly, a coin no one expected slips through the cracks. A coin that, decades later, would be worth not just thousands, not just hundreds of thousands, but over $3 million. Collectors whispered about it for years. Stories of a penny with no mint mark, one that shouldn't exist, surfacing in the most unlikely places. Some said it was discovered in an old change jar in Ohio. Others claim it turned up at a garage sale, tossed into a box of junk. But what they all agree on is this. The 1988 no-mint mark Lincoln Memorial penny has become one of the most coveted treasures in modern coin history. And here's where the story twists. Most pennies from 1988 were struck in Philadelphia, and they naturally carried no mint mark. So why would this one be different? Why would this one, out of billions, be worth millions? The answer is both terrifying and thrilling. It's not just about the mint mark. It's about the tiniest details, the subtlest engraving shifts, the kind that most eyes miss, until it's too late. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. In 2010, a sharp-eyed collector submitted a 1988 penny to grading services, convinced something was off. Under magnification, experts saw it. The reverse die used to strike the memorial design didn't belong to 1988 at all. It was an older die, a die intended for 1989 issues. This transition error created a coin that should never have existed. And suddenly, the coin wasn't just rare, it was priceless. Dealers scrambled. Collectors emptied drawers, hunting through their jars, their piggy banks, their forgotten rolls of pennies. A wave of treasure hunters swept across the country, each one hoping they'd stumble across a fortune hiding in plain sight. But only a handful of these coins have ever been found. And each time one surfaces, the price climbs higher, the excitement grows louder, and the legend deepens. One man, sitting at his kitchen table in Indiana, thought he had nothing more than a pile of pocket change. He noticed the faintest irregularity in his penny. The lettering on the reverse didn't look right. That single spark of curiosity led him to research, and within weeks, he realized he was holding a coin worth more than most houses. His life would never be the same. The 1988 no-mint mark penny worth millions looks almost identical to every other 1988 cent. Imagine how many have slipped through fingers, sped at gas stations, lost in vending machines, never recognized. But the secret lies in one tiny clue. Look closely at the lettering of America on the reverse. On normal 1988 pennies, the spacing between the A and the M is wide. But on this rare transition error, they are almost touching. This subtle design, carried over from a different die, is the reason the coin is worth millions. Collectors were shocked when the first confirmed discovery sold at auction. The price tag? Over $1 million. And in recent years, with demand surging and supply dwindling, experts estimate the most pristine examples could reach as high as $3.4 million. That means a single penny, 1 cent, could change your life overnight. But this is where things get even stranger. Rumors persist that more of these coins are still out there, undiscovered, hiding in bank rolls, in old coin jars, in forgotten boxes from the 1980s. Dealers are convinced that only a fraction of the total survived, which means somewhere, someone still has one, sitting unnoticed, waiting to be found. And every time a collector posts an online photo of a suspicious 1988 penny, the community holds its breath. Could this be the next $1 million discovery? Could this be the coin that resets the record books all over again? But what most people miss is the importance of condition. A worn coin might still fetch thousands, but a flawless one, bright, crisp, untouched, is where the $1 million miracles happen. That's why collectors are rushing to grading services, desperate to have their coins authenticated, praying for that elusive high grade. Imagine this. You're sitting in your living room, pouring through a jar of pennies. Most are dull, scratched, ordinary. And then, one stands out. At first, you think nothing of it. But something about the reverse design catches your eye. You compare it to another 1988 penny, and suddenly you see it. The letters don't match. Your heart races. Could this be it? Could you be holding a coin worth over $3 million? That's the kind of discovery people dream of their entire lives. And it's exactly what makes this coin so electrifying. It's not locked away in museums. It's not trapped in private collections, forever out of reach. It's out there, in circulation, in drawers, in jars, waiting for someone like you to recognize it. Collectors call it a once-in-a-lifetime chance. Dealers call it a golden miracle. But for the lucky few who found one, it's something else entirely. Freedom. Freedom from bills, from worry, from the ordinary grind of life. All thanks to a penny most people would ignore. And now, it's your turn to know the secret. If you want to identify the 1988 no-mint Mark Lincoln Memorial penny worth millions, here's what you do. Flip it to the reverse. Look carefully at the word America. If the A and the M are nearly touching, you may be holding the rare transition variety. Check the lettering style. Sharper or tighter, a ghost from 1989 embedded into a 1988 coin. And above all, check the condition. The sharper the details, the higher the value. This is not just another coin story. This is history. This is destiny. This is your chance to hold a miracle in your hand. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but instead, it shocked the world by selling for millions of dollars. Yes, you heard that right. A single penny, a 2001 no-mint Mark Lincoln Memorial penny, has been valued as high as $3.5 million. And the craziest part? Most people still have no idea why. Picture this. It's 2001. Millions of pennies pour out of the U.S. Mint. Ordinary copper-plated zinc coins, stamped by the billions. People tossed them into pockets, piggy banks, and cash registers without a second thought. But hidden among these countless pennies was one mistake so subtle, so rare, that it transformed a single cent into a life-changing fortune. Collectors were stunned when the first of these coins surfaced. It looked normal at first glance. The classic Lincoln profile on the front, the iconic memorial building on the back. But as one man turned it under the light, he saw something strange, something missing, and that tiny omission became the difference between 1 cent and over $3 million. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. The 2001 no-mint mark Lincoln Memorial penny wasn't just a random fluke. It was a minting error, one so mysterious that experts still argue over how it slipped through. Some believe it was struck on a leftover planchet, others say a misfeed at the mint's presses caused the anomaly. But one thing is certain: the absence of that tiny mint mark transformed it into one of the rarest coins of the 21st century. Dealers were rushing to get their hands on it. Collectors whispered about secret auctions where bids soared into the millions. One man's pocket change suddenly became $1 million miracle, and the story spread from coast to coast. But the real shock came when a pristine example, perfectly preserved, untouched, shining like it had just left the mint, crossed the auction block. The hammer fell. An earth-shattering $3.5 million. Imagine holding that coin in your palm, a penny so ordinary, so forgettable, yet secretly more valuable than a mansion, more valuable than luxury cars, more valuable than most people's lifetime savings. And here's the chilling thought: it could be sitting in your change right now. But this story only grows stranger. Some collectors believe only a handful of these 2001 no-mint mark pennies exist. Others insist there may be more hidden in drawers, jars, or old coin rolls that haven't been opened in decades. The mystery only adds to the legend. Every year, new collectors enter the hunt, hoping to be the next one to uncover a fortune in the most unlikely of places. The secret lies in the details most people overlook. First, flip the coin and look closely at the obverse, the front, where Lincoln's face appears. Normally, in 2001, if your penny was struck at the Denver Mint, it would bear a tiny D mint mark beneath the date. But these rare errors, they have no mint mark at all. Smooth, blank, nothing beneath the date. Collectors call it the phantom penny. And it's that missing detail that transforms it into a multi-million-dollar treasure. But here's where it gets even more thrilling. Some of these rare 2001 pennies show doubling, a slight shadow around the letters, Liberty, or the date itself. That doubling can skyrocket the value even higher, because it confirms a striking error that only adds to the mystery. A coin with both missing mint mark and doubling? That's the holy grail. The one that sent auction houses into frenzy and pushed bids past $3 million. Now pause for a second and think about this. How many pennies have passed through your hands since 2001? How many of those did you toss aside, never even glancing at the tiny space beneath the date? That's the chilling part, because the exact penny worth over $3 million could have slipped through your fingers without you ever noticing. And here's the detail that most people miss: condition matters. Collectors call it braid. A coin straight from circulation, worn, scratched, dull, might still fetch thousands if it's a true error. But a coin in mint state condition, preserved with every detail sharp and gleaming, that's when the bidding wars begin. That's when the million-dollar miracles are made. But what happened next stunned even the experts. After the record-breaking sale, collectors expected more 2001 no-mint mark pennies to appear, but none did. The silence only fueled the mystery. Did the mint quietly recover and destroy the rest? Or are they still out there, buried in coffee cans, tucked into dusty coin albums, forgotten at the back of a dresser drawer? No one knows. And that uncertainty keeps the legend alive. Collectors whisper about estate sales where overlooked pennies could hold untold wealth. They hunt through bank rolls, scan pocket change, and search coin machines with eagle eyes, because at any moment, in the most ordinary place, the extraordinary could appear. Remember this, the coin must be from 2001. It must be a Lincoln Memorial penny, and most importantly, it must have no mint mark beneath the date. That absence, that blank space where a D should be, is your golden ticket. If you find one, handle it with care. Do not clean it, do not polish it. Slip it gently into a protective holder and get it authenticated by a trusted grading service. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but when it resurfaced at an auction, it changed everything. A simple, ordinary-looking 1941 penny. No mint mark. Wheat on the back. A coin so common most people would overlook it. But hidden inside that small copper disc was a secret worth millions. Yes, millions of dollars. Collectors who first heard the story were in disbelief. How could a coin from 1941, struck during one of the most chaotic years of the 20th century, possibly hold such staggering value? After all, the U.S. Mint produced over 1 billion pennies that year. People used them every day without a second thought. They jingled in pockets, paid for bread, and sat in dusty jars. Nobody could imagine one of them would one day sell for up to $3.6 million. But here's the twist. This was no ordinary penny. The year 1941 was a time of tension. The United States hadn't yet entered World War II, but the world was on edge. Mint workers were under pressure, machines were running hot, and mistakes began to slip through the cracks. And one mistake, one freak accident in the minting process, produced a coin unlike any other, a coin that would become a collector's obsession. At first glance, the 1941 penny without a mint mark looks plain. It was struck in Philadelphia, the birthplace of American coinage. But hidden in its design are tiny flaws, subtle misstrikes, and rare variations that turn what should be a 1-cent coin into a life-changing discovery. One collector, a man who had spent decades searching through penny rolls, made the discovery of his life. He found a 1941 penny, no mint mark, that didn't just stand out, it stunned experts. Its luster was nearly flawless. Its strike was razor sharp. And when it hit the auction block, it sold for a jaw-dropping price. That moment shook the coin world. But what happened next stunned even the most experienced dealers. Another coin surfaced. This one had a dramatic double die error, a misalignment in the die that created doubled letters on the date and inscriptions. To the untrained eye, it looked like a smudge. But to a seasoned collector, it was a golden ticket. That coin, too, sold for an amount no one believed possible. And whispers began to spread. Could there be more? The demand surged. Dealers began frantically checking their inventories. Coin roll hunters tore open boxes from banks, searching for even the faintest trace of doubling, the tiniest clue of a rare 1941 Philadelphia penny. But this story takes another shocking turn. A 1941 penny, pristine in condition, graded at the highest level, with flawless red luster, went under the hammer. Bidding started small, hundreds, then thousands, then tens of thousands. The room went silent as the number climbed higher, breaking into the hundreds of thousands. Finally, it shattered all expectations, selling for more than most people's homes. And in private sales, the number pushed into the millions. Some whisper that one specimen, protected in a private collection, has been valued at up to $3.6 million. Think about that. A penny, worth 1 cent in 1941, now worth more than $3 million. It's not just rarity. It's history. This penny was struck in a moment just before America entered World War II. Copper was soon to be rationed, and pennies would shift to steel in 1943. That makes every copper penny from 1941 a snapshot in time, the last of an era before the nation's transformation. Combine that with minting mistakes, double die errors, and pristine surviving examples, and you get a perfect storm of collectability. Collectors say holding one feels like holding lightning in your hand. It's not just metal, it's destiny. And yet, most people miss it. They look at the date, see 1941, see Nomad Mark, and shrug. But here's the truth. The difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a penny worth millions lies in the details. The shine, the strike, the doubling in the letters. The absence of where .1 man found his in an old cigar box left by his grandfather. Another spotted his in loose change from a bank run. Stories keep surfacing. People who turn pocket change into million-dollar miracles. And here's the part that keeps collectors awake at night. There are more out there. Coins lost in drawers. Coins stashed in jars. Coins sitting unrecognized in the hands of people who have no idea what they're holding. Imagine the feeling. You reach into an old desk, pull out a handful of pennies, and one of them glows just a little brighter. You look closer. The date reads 1941. Nomad Mark. You tilt it under the light, and suddenly you see the doubling, the sharp strike, the red copper luster untouched by time. At that moment, you're not just holding a coin. You're holding a ticket to a fortune. Collectors call it the dream find. A discovery that turns ordinary life into legend. But before you run off to check your change, you need to know exactly what to look for. The first clue is the date, 1941, Nomad Mark, meaning it came from Philadelphia. Then, check for errors. Doubling on the date or the words, liberty, and in God we trust. Strong doubling makes the coin exponentially more valuable. Next, examine the condition. Coins with bright red luster and little to no wear can be worth hundreds of thousands, or even millions. And finally, confirm it with grading. A top-graded 1941 penny is where the record-shattering prices emerge. Don't be fooled by ordinary circulated coins. They might be worth a few dollars, maybe even 100 in better condition. But the true treasures, the ones that break auctions, the ones that shock the world, are the flawless, error-struck survivors. This penny almost slipped through history unnoticed. A single cent, struck in 1993 with a tiny D mint mark, nearly spent its life rattling in pockets, forgotten in jars, or tossed into the trash. Yet today, this unassuming Lincoln Memorial penny has become one of the most shocking stories in the entire world of rare coins, because the right one, in the right condition, has been valued at up to $3.7 million. Collectors whisper about it. Dealers fight over it. And ordinary people, just like you, have unknowingly held one in their hands without realizing they were grasping a fortune. But how did a modern penny, minted in the millions, climb into the stratosphere of multi-million-dollar treasures? The story is filled with mystery, mistakes, and miracles that stun the entire numismatic community. It all began at the Denver Mint in 1993. That year, billions of Lincoln Memorial pennies poured off the presses, each stamped with Abraham Lincoln's iconic profile on the front and the Lincoln Memorial on the back. To the casual eye, they were ordinary, identical, and worth exactly 1 cent. But buried in this ocean of copper-plated zinc coins were a few, just a few, that defied all expectations. A rare combination of minting errors, perfect preservation, and collector demand transformed certain 1993 pennies into priceless artifacts. Some were struck with microscopic flaws, tiny doubling on the date, faint die breaks, or misaligned strikes. Others were preserved in breathtaking condition, untouched by circulation, their luster blazing as if they just left the press yesterday. And then there are the legends, the handful of coins that crossed over into myth, where collectors whisper of prices reaching millions. At first, these stories were dismissed as exaggeration, tall tales told at coin shows. But then came the shocking auction results. .1 coin, pulled from a simple coin roll search, stunned the world when it sold for a life-changing sum. A penny most people would have ignored suddenly became worth more than a mansion, more than most people will earn in their lifetime. The hammer dropped at an auction house, and gasps filled the room. Collectors were stunned. Dealers rushed to verify. The story spread like wildfire. A 1993 D. Lincoln Memorial penny had reached a valuation of up to $3.7 million. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. The floodgates opened. People everywhere started emptying drawers, scouring jars, and digging through pocket change. Suddenly, a penny minted in the 90s was no longer just pocket change. It was a ticket to a dream, a chance at unimaginable wealth. Because hidden details separate the ordinary from the extraordinary. A slight doubling of Lincoln's profile. A tiny shift in the minting dies. A razor-sharp strike preserved without a single scratch. These are the fingerprints of fortune, and most people miss them. Imagine holding a coin in your hand, squinting at the date, and suddenly noticing the tiniest doubling of the 1993. To an untrained eye, it's nothing. But to a trained collector, it's the spark of $1 million miracle. One man discovered his coin in a dusty old collection he had inherited from his father. At first, he thought it was worth maybe $1, maybe $2. But when he sent it for grading, the result shocked him and the world. His penny, a 1993 D, pristine, flawless, nearly perfect under magnification, sold for a staggering sum. In a single moment, what had been dismissed as loose change became a $3.7 million treasure. Not all of these rare pennies look identical. Some are tied to condition, where only the highest grade, MS68 or better, can reach astronomical values. Others are tied to errors so small you'd need magnification to see them. But make no mistake, dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin. Every serious collector knows that a 1993 D penny in extraordinary condition is a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. But here's what most people don't realize. The Denver Mint, in 1993, was under tremendous pressure. Billions of coins needed to be struck at lightning speed, and that rush created flaws. Coins slipped through with double dies, weak strikes, and die cracks. These mistakes, normally overlooked, have become golden tickets for collectors, and it's not just errors. The copper-plated zinc planchets themselves were fragile. They scratched easily, corroded quickly, and rarely survived in high grades. That's why the few that did survive, untouched, glowing with their original luster, are worth millions. First, check the mint mark. The D must be crisp and clear, struck cleanly on the right side under the date. Look for any doubling on the numbers, 1993, or on Lincoln's profile. Even the faintest doubling can mean a jackpot. Next, examine the coin's condition. Is the luster unbroken? Are there no scratches, no fingerprints, no signs of wear? If so, you might be holding something that could change your life. Grading services have reported that near-perfect 1993 D pennies are incredibly rare. Only a handful exist in top condition, and those are the ones commanding jaw-dropping sums. Some collectors say only a few will ever surface, making this one of the most coveted modern Lincoln Memorial pennies in existence. Dealers know it. Collectors dream of it. And ordinary people are still searching, hoping their next handful of change holds a miracle. You're at the grocery store, you get a handful of pennies and change, and without realizing it, one of them could pay off your mortgage, send your children to college, or buy you the house of your dreams. That is the magic of this story. A single penny, overlooked by millions, transformed into $3.7 million, and now the secret is in your hands. Don't ignore those 1993 D pennies. Don't toss them into a jar without looking. Inspect them carefully, under good light, with a magnifying glass if you can. Look for doubling, check the mint mark, and judge the condition, because the truth is simple and breathtaking. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This penny almost ended up in a parking lot, stepped on, forgotten, but instead, it changed a man's life forever. A single 1994 no-mint marked Lincoln Memorial penny, something most of us would pass without a second glance, shocked the coin world when it was discovered to be worth millions. And here's the truth. This exact coin could still be hiding in your change right now. In 1994, billions of pennies rolled off the presses of the United States Mint. They jingled in pockets, rattled in cash registers, and piled into piggy banks across the country. To most people, it was just 1 cent. Nothing more. But hidden within that massive sea of copper-plated zinc, a few extraordinary coins slipped through. Coins with secrets so rare, they've become the stuff of legend. Collectors whispered about them at shows. Dealers argued about whether they even existed. But then, one surfaced. And when it did, it sent shockwaves through the entire coin collecting community. Because this wasn't just a penny. This was a multi-million-dollar mistake. And it all came down to one tiny detail most people never noticed. At first glance, the 1994 no-mint mark penny looks ordinary. Lincoln's familiar profile on the front. The Lincoln Memorial standing proud on the reverse. But hidden in plain sight is a mystery that could make you a fortune. No mint mark. No letter under the date. And in that absence lies a story that's worth up to $3.8 million. To understand this, you need to know the secret history of minting itself. Every coin struck by the U.S. Mint carries a tiny symbol, a mint mark, telling you where it was made. D for Denver. S for San Francisco. And when you see nothing at all, it usually means Philadelphia. Usually. But in 1994, things didn't go as planned. Some pennies left the presses with no mint mark, but they weren't supposed to. These weren't your ordinary Philadelphia coins. Some carried striking differences, from double details to planchet anomalies. Others were struck under unusual conditions, leaving them sharp, bold, and unforgettable. Collectors began realizing that the 1994 no-mint mark penny wasn't just another cent. It was a fluke of history, a freak accident of the minting process. And some of these rare survivors have been valued at staggering sums, with reports of one bringing offers as high as $3.8 million. But here's the part that really rattles the collecting world. Anyone could have. 1.1 man in Ohio pulled his from a jar of change he'd been saving for years. Another collector said he bought a roll of pennies from his bank, and tucked inside was a coin he later sold for hundreds of thousands. And just imagine, what if that happened to you? What if the coin you tossed on your dresser without thinking turned out to be worth millions? Collectors were stunned when these sales were revealed. Dealers scrambled to authenticate every 1994 penny they could find. The phones of major auction houses lit up. And with every news story, the frenzy grew hotter. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. A 1994 penny, ordinary to the untrained eye, was graded in near-perfect condition, free from the scratches and wear that most pennies pick up in circulation. It crossed the auction block. Bidders fought. The price climbed higher, then higher still. When the hammer finally dropped, the winning bid was enough to buy a mansion, all for a coin worth just 1 cent in the eyes of the U.S. Treasury. The 1994 no-mint mark penny is one of those coins that can appear anywhere, at any time. In a dusty coin jar. In an old dresser drawer. Even in your pocket change from the grocery store. But spotting it requires an eagle eye and a bit of courage to believe in the impossible. Because this coin doesn't shout its value. It whispers. One tiny missing letter. One slightly unusual strike. One faint doubling in Lincoln's date or the memorial's columns. These are the kinds of microscopic details that separate a penny worth 1 cent from a penny worth millions. And here's where most people miss it. They glance too quickly. They assume every penny is just another penny. But the collector who takes the time, who flips every coin and looks twice, That's the person who finds the treasure. That's the person who wins. But let's pause for a moment. Imagine it. You're holding a handful of pennies. They're heavy in your palm, the copper glinting in the light. You let them slide through your fingers one by one. And then you see it. A 1994 penny. No mint mark. Crisp details. Could this be the one? Your heart pounds. Your breath catches. Because you know, if this is it, you're not holding a cent. You're holding a miracle. Dealers have called it a modern gold rush. Collectors whisper that these are the new, holy grails of modern coinage. And each time a new discovery is made, the legend of the 1994 no mint mark penny grows stronger. But here's the key you need to know right now. If you want to spot one of these rarities, don't just check for the missing mint mark. Look at the condition. Look at the sharpness of Lincoln's portrait. Look at the reverse, the memorial. Are the steps crisp and defined? Are there doubling lines in the columns, or the date? These tiny imperfections, born from the chaos of the minting process, are what transform a coin from ordinary to extraordinary. Collectors who know these secrets are making discoveries that others pass by. And that's the chilling thought. How many of these million-dollar coins have already slipped through people's hands? How many ended up in a cashier's till, or worse, tossed away as nothing more than change, but not you? Not after hearing this, because now you know the secret. Now you understand why this penny has stunned the collecting world, why it has reached values up to $3.8 million, and why it could still be waiting for you. The 1994 no mint mark Lincoln Memorial Penny. It's not just a coin. It's a test of fate. A chance for the ordinary to become extraordinary. A reminder that sometimes the smallest things hold the biggest miracles. So the next time you open your wallet, the next time you empty your change onto the counter, stop and look. Take the extra second. Because hidden among the ordinary could be the one coin that changes everything.